This is a competition of the speed trail shoes, the Salomon SpeedCross 5 and the Hoka Speed Goat 4. Which one is the best for long distance backpacking? The SpeedCross 5 Gore-Tex features a floating tongue, contra grip outsole, quick lace system and a 10mm drop. A well proven trail shoe. The Hoka Speed Goat 4 has a gusseted tongue, Vibram outsole with a rock plate and a 4mm drop. Another well proven trail shoe. So let's take a look first at these Salomon SpeedCross 5 Gore-Tex. It's a shoe I'm familiar with. I've had a few of the versions of them, ranging from the 3, the 4 and the 5, and I've always found them to be a solid, reliable shoe. These 5s, they've got the contra grip sole, which is nice and grippy in loose terrain. Perhaps not so good on slippy wet rock, but I guess all soles have their compromises. They're really tough. These have done about 300 miles now. I've walked the West Highland Way in them. They are absolutely fine, no problems with leakage, although I did end up with water coming in through the top, even though I had some small gaiters on. Now what I would say is the Gore-Tex lining is really good at keeping the water out. The only problem I found is that once the water gets in, it's really difficult to dry these shoes. They're a reasonably high cut around the ankle, and I had the Salomon gaiters on, which aren't waterproof, but they keep the stones out. And what I found was that eventually, if it rained enough, the water would come in through the ankle cuff, wet the shoe, you'd end up with wet feet, which is absolutely fine. It's not a problem, you expect this to happen, but they just wouldn't dry out and they would take forever. In fact, I would say the last few days on the West Highland Way I just had perpetual wet feet, and unfortunately the shoes just weren't drying at all, even though the last day was very warm and sunny. And they have the quick lace system, which is really good. It means you can literally grab the lace, pull it up, lock it into place, and then the end of this tucks nicely into a pocket just at the top of the tongue. There you go. So you can put your lace away there. There is a problem I found with them particularly though, is these ortholite insoles. Now Salomon make quite a song and a dance about how good they are. However, I found a problem with them, and that is once your shoe becomes waterlogged, which it undoubtedly will, Gore-Tex or not, with enough rain if you're using it on a backpacking trip, these soles, they move about in the shoe, and I was having to stop quite regularly because I'd find my inner sole was going to halfway up the side of the shoe. I'd have to straighten it, squeeze it out, because unfortunately they retain water, and pop it back into place for it to be comfortable. The other problem that I found on the West Highland Way was that the last day or two, I found that my sole of my feet were getting quite sore. Not blisters, no hot spots, just sore. And the actual thickness of padding nearer the forefoot is quite thin compared to the rear, hence the big drop. But on the whole, really solid shoe. So let's have a look at the Hoka Speed Goat 4. These are the non-Gore-Tex version. These have only done about 100 miles. Used them on the Cumbria Way a week or so ago, and on the sole there's no wear. I've worn them a couple of times as well. Outside on the kind of midsole there is a bit of scuffs there, But apart from that, not too bad. Wear wise, however, outside they've got these kind of I don't know, plastic stripes which seem to be welded onto the material. Now, as I say, these have only done about 100 miles, and if you look, you can see they've come off. I don't know whether they actually serve any purpose in terms of giving stability to the shoe. I'd be very surprised if they do, if it's minimal at all. But it does give them something of a scruffy look after only, 100 miles, which isn't really what you'd want. Comfort wise though, these are just fantastic, as you'd expect with a Hoka shoe. They've got massive midsole, really well cushioned. Didn't have any problems with sore feet throughout the whole walk. No problems with the footbed moving about in the shoe like I did with the Salomon, but they're not waterproof. There's a slight amount of resistance, but as soon as you get out there into the damp grass, you're going to end up with wet feet, and I did. First day I was on the Cumbria Way, it was nice and dry. As the next day came in, really wet, feet were immediately wet. I wore some quick drying smart wool socks though, and I decided to give a go to the theory of living with wet feet and letting the shoes dry out, and I think it worked. I mean, these were incredibly comfortable. They grip really well on rock, gripped really well on loose terrain, and I'd say as a whole the grip from these were better than the Salomon. There's no speed lacing system. You just tie your laces as you would with normal running shoes, normal shoes. No place to tuck those away. Has got a gusseted tongue though. The tongue is quite thin, but I didn't have any problems with discomfort from the laces pressing against my feet. On the whole, quite impressed with comfort, impressed with the grip, impressed with its ability to dry. Not quite as impressed by its ability to stand up to wear and tear in comparison to the SpeedCross, but on the whole a decent shoe. So the question is, which shoe do I prefer for long distance backpacking? Well, I'd say out of these two, the Hoka Speed Goat 4 win. One from the extra bit of padding. The shoe was still very stable, and I think better grip on damp rock. I'm sold. I am sold now on the idea of getting wet feet and living with it when you're backpacking. As long as your shoes can dry out quickly and you take quick drying socks, I don't think it's a problem. Lots of people use it now on long distance treks. I've seen Hayes Outdoor using a non-waterproof trekking shoe on the Cape Wrath Trail, which is, as tough as you can get in this country. Worked for him. I found these were great. Nothing wrong with the Salomon at all. They're a good shoe. I think in future I would go for the non-Gore-Tex version if I was going to get a pair, just because your feet are going to get wet anyway if you're wearing trail shoes, so you may as well use the shoes that dry quickest. Wet rock, grip's not quite as good as the Hoka, and I think long-term comfort maybe not quite as good, but still a very good shoe. But for me, it's the Hoka that are the winner out of these two. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd be really grateful if you would subscribe and like, and I'll see you soon when I do a video looking at my winter kit for the coming season. Thank you.